Hey everybody, welcome to We Run on Reruns. I'm Amanda and this is my brother Eric.
Woo! We made it. It's middle of the week. Let's go.
So today I am very excited to be discussing the very first episode of Stranger Things.
Changing it up a little bit. And this is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting, I think.
Yeah, for sure. This is the third time I've rerun this show, or third time I've watched this show, I should say. Second rerun. And this just feels like perfect timing because before you know it, we'll be rolling right into the fall season with Halloween and all things creepy. And I just love that time of year. And what's great about this show, unlike Friends, I've seen it, but my last rewatch of the first season was a few years ago, I think, at this point. So it still feels brand new, but also a rewatch. So I get a little bit of both there.
Yeah. And for me, like, I feel like this is I think this is actually my third rewatch of season 1. But then seasons 2, 3, 4, like, those will be like my first rerun of that one. Watched them all. Love it. It's a great series. Looking forward to it coming back out in November. But this is just kind of helping me get back ready for the new season. So I'm really excited about it. I hope all of you are as well. And yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, and we will continue with our Friends reruns on Sundays.
Oh, yes.
We'll have some Sundays with Friends. So please continue to join us there as well. And if you like what we're doing here, if you know of other like-minded people who would also enjoy listening to our ramblings, please don't forget to share. Even telling one friend, one other person would be so awesome and appreciated.
That would be amazing. If you guys would do that. We really would appreciate it. And don't forget, we're also on Instagram. We are on YouTube. So go there, subscribe, follow, pay attention there. We've got all kinds of shorts and stuff from the show. So hopefully you like those as well.
Yeah, and so today we're really just going to be running through the very first episode called The Vanishing of Will Byers. It's actually called Chapter 1,
yes. The
Vanishing of Will Byers.
I was almost going to get a fact check in, like, right out of the bricks. I was ready for it. I was like, nope, Chapter 1.
Yeah, I like that about this. It's almost like you're reading a book. And so it's Chapter 1, and we're just going to be kind of running through the details of the episode and then just jumping in with discussion as we go.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So, kick us off.
Yeah. So, we start off by the first thing we see on the screen is it is November 6th, 1983. So we're going back to the 80s and we are in Hawkins, Indiana, and we are at the U.S. Department of Energy. And there is right off the bat, this frantic energy of this evacuation with strobe lights in a hallway, and it is like, something is going down immediately. So we're brought right in the middle of it. And what were your first thoughts as you saw this? Did you remember this part? Or was this
No, I didn't remember this right out of the gate. It's funny, sometimes you go back and watch, I feel like episodes of the first episode of a series and you're like, right. Oh, that's right, it did start this way.
Yes.
That was kind of the vibe I had here. But I also love this intro because it grips you immediately. And so you've got this scientist literally sprinting through the halls, getting to some elevator, pounding the button, doors open, finally gets in, and you are watching him staring down this hallway, waiting for the doors to close, and you're like, these doors are never closing. I've seen this too many times. This is not working out. And no, because
Yeah.
it's already inside the elevator.
It's already inside, and then you just see him get pulled up by some unknown creature, some unknown entity, and
Right
he
into the
is just
ceiling.
gone. Yeah, whether he is eaten, we don't know. We don't know. It's just
He's just no longer around.
he is no longer. I don't think he's
Scientist
having a
number
good time.
one, gone.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. And then we are then brought into a new scene with the kids. So now we're with the four boys
And
playing. Yeah.
Yeah, they are you immediately get them playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is so great because the pull from frantic science experiment gone horribly wrong to children playing D&D is awesome. And it sets the tone for how we're going to view these kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't tell their names right away, obviously, because that wouldn't be very conversational, but we will say that there is Mike Wheeler, who is sort of the main character out of the four boys. This is his house that they're in, his basement. Then there's Will Byers, who from the title, as we know, he is the one who vanishes. And then there's Lucas Sinclair and Dustin Henderson, who are the other boys in the group. And so it is all about them being really cute and nerdy. I have to say, I never played D&D myself. I don't know if you did, Eric, but
So I had a couple friends who had older siblings that played the game, and I know that I had filled out a character sheet once or twice, but never got beyond that because it takes so long to set up. It's just very in depth, and you can't do it. Like if you go to a friend's house and expect to launch into a game,
no,
that's not how it works. Like there has to be significant planning to this long beforehand.
This is not a game for the TikTok generation.
Oh, gosh.
This is an in-depth that requires a lot of time and energy and to really get into these it's the original. I don't know if it's the original, but it's one of the original role-playing games, right? So before it's
tabletop role-playing games for sure.
Exactly, tabletop role-playing where there's no electronics involved and it is all just fantasy. And so it's just really cute seeing these guys these kids having such a great time playing. I'll also point out that they are all 12 years old at the beginning of this series.
And I will say, I think that D&D, because of this show, has made an overwhelming comeback.
Really?
I feel cool. There are a lot of things that I will see on, reels or shorts or YouTube channels that are dedicated to this. There are very active, alive communities getting involved with D&D. And I don't know if it's just more out in the open than it was before, or it's just there's more of them because of Stranger Things. But I do believe there's a correlating impact.
Oh, yeah. I mean, oftentimes things that were once popular make a resurgence later on. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a movie based on Dungeons and Dragons. And I think that there's also
there is a movie based on Dungeons and Dragons. I do believe that many people who play Dungeons and Dragons would tell you that it was terrible. I don't know that. Like I said, I've never played. I've been open to the concept of getting a game going, but I don't know enough people. I don't know anybody who knows how to play the game. So it becomes very difficult to do those things. And I know there's online communities where you can start trying to do that, but
the new evolution, is now online, as are really everything. So they are playing D&D, having a great time. And apparently, according to his mom, they've been playing D&D for 10 hours in their basement.
It's so like I said, down there. It's a long game. It is not a
Yeah.
short game. You don't pick it up
Yeah.
like Connect 4 and knock
Right.
it out in 3 minutes.
Right. But, you know, this is the 80s.
But this also goes to character development. Like, these
Yes.
boys are
Yes.
committed to this thing, and that
Yes.
shows something about them, where if they were sitting
Mhm.
down playing the game of life or Monopoly, you get a different feel for who these
Mhm.
people are.
Yes, yes. You also just get a sense of just their whole family right off the bat. I love that, where like you know, you meet the mom who she is clearly, you know, in charge of what's going on in the household,
Obviously.
right? Because
Yeah,
you see the
clearly.
mom and sees what's going on, and then you just kind of see the dad in the background. He's like fixing the rabbit ears on the TV. And for those who may be listening who don't know what those are, the TVs used to have the giant wires coming out the top, and they helped you tune into different channels, the 3 channels that you would get at that point.
These are the little things that make you realize it's 1983, right?
Yes,
These
exactly.
are the little pieces that make it feel realistic, all the way down
Yes.
to the wallpaper in the houses and the decor,
The hairstyles.
the hairstyles, all of it. Yeah, it's really
Their
good.
clothes.
They do a very
Yeah.
good job with that, making it feel like it's the 80s.
Yeah, it's such a good job. And you know, but again, you're getting a sense of the family, and then you have a flash of the sister, because Mike's one friend Dustin has a crush on his sister Nancy, so he's always kind of like checking to see what she's doing. She's much older. Well, I guess she's probably like 2 years older at that point, but I think that 2-year age gap at that age, like it seems pretty significant.
Right.
And so he kind of goes into her room to check to see what she's doing, and she just gets up from the bed and just closes the door right in poor Dustin's face.
Yeah, listen, that's not going to happen.
That's not
Nice
gonna
try,
happen.
Dustin.
Yeah. Yep. But so they are then kind of, so they're being told, basically the other boys are told, listen, you guys got to go home. Like we're going to be settling in for the night. I think they have school the next day. They do have school the next day for sure. So they're all told to go along their way. And then you see them riding their bikes at home.
I do want to say, before they even start riding their bikes, you get this moment where at the end of the D&D game, they rolled the dice and they couldn't find the dice and whatever. And as they're getting ready to get on their bikes, Dustin's out there and Will is there. And I'm sorry, I said Dustin. Mike and Will are still there.
Yes.
Dustin
yes.
has left.
That's right.
Lucas has left. And at that point, Will turns to Mike and says, it was a 7. Like I found it. And you kind of get that moment that another character layer, like Will's going to be real honest with you. He's not going to he's not going to try to change it. And he doesn't want to come back to the game the next time and re-roll that changes the outcome of their adventure. He's telling him what it was so that Mike knows, and then he can like note that so that it goes forward, which is a really cool piece. But then the boys take off riding.
Well, and you also, they make mention of later in the episode where apparently rolling that 7 meant that he then did what was right for the team and not just for his own character. So he was always looking out for the whole group.
Yeah.
And Will is just clearly like, he's the smallest one. He's very sweet. Like he's just really, he's pretty adorable. And it's like, oh man, you're just rooting for Will. You can tell he's a good kid. He's probably the sweetest of the group. And so it's, so right away, then again, you know, where we cut to the scene of the boys riding their bikes with these huge honking like headlights on their bicycles, which is nothing. You know, we had our bikes in the 90s and never had these huge headlights.
No, not like that. And they were also a very different style bike back in the 80s. Like they were starting to become a little bit more modernized in the 90s when most of my bike riding happened, although I definitely had bikes in the late 80s. like that's just kind of those looked like hand-me-down bikes from like the 70s into the early 80s that then they attached these headlights to so they could ride in the dark.
You are right though. Our first bikes were definitely still in the 80s.
For sure.
You know, with the and especially that's probably the dawn of really, well, I don't know when training wheels first came out, but I feel like it was probably started to be more of a thing for kids around that time, where you could just pop on the temporary training wheels and then pop them off.
Yeah, bike safety for sure started making its way around.
Yeah, and but all that good stuff, and we also probably weren't riding our bikes too much at night at that point. I feel like this is the early 80s is probably more of like even more of a like just let the kids like figure it out on their way home, and there wasn't as much oversight for sure.
We are definitely millennials, or I like to like still use the term zennials, where it's that generation between Gen X and the millennial generation. We're like the older end of the spectrum, where these guys are already like 10, 11, 12 years old. What do you say, 12?
Yeah.
And
12.
And it's 1983. So they were born in like 71. So this is definitely like Generation X type stuff.
Yeah. And so they're riding their bikes, and then you see Will, you know, he's kind of racing away from Dustin because it's just the two of them at this point. And then Will goes off on his own and takes what I'm assuming is like the shortcut home. Like he's just like, all right, well, he takes this one route. And then before you know it, you're seeing this sign that is for the U.S. Department of Energy, which, as we know from, you know, when the scene opened, stuff's gone down there.
There's some problems there. They're not having the greatest day.
Yeah. So, and I love also in the background during all of this, you're getting this great like 80s synth music playing in the background. So the music too is just adding to the whole
music
feel.
Is really good because I think I wrote somewhere that I felt like it was 80s music, but spooky music. So spooky, not scary, not like horror music, but it's definitely this like spookier vibe. But it's also 80s like instruments.
A lot of 80s rock music in general was a bit spooky, I would say.
There you go. So you have this nice blend of setting the time period with also the mood of the scene.
Yes, and so we're with young Will, and he ends up riding down this one hill and crashing his bike into the woods when he sees a shadow figure in the distance. And it is just this super, like, you don't want to be seeing that. Like, that is clearly
it looks
nothing from this earth.
For where he comes from. It's like, it is this
like 10
huge
feet tall
figure, and it comes out of nowhere, and clearly he's scared, so he drives his bike down into the woods. Maybe not on purpose, but he just kind of like veers off and slides into the woods with it. But then he's able to make his way. He's able to make his way home from there.
Yeah,
and he gets all the way back to the house.
Yeah, he ditches his bike in the woods and then just runs. And you just see him then. We catch up with him as he's rounding this corner, running into his house, racing into his house. His dog is barking. He's frantically locking the door. And no one's home. I guess he's there by himself at this point. It's night. And this thing has followed him home. So he's looking out the window and you just see it again in the distance. And the phone isn't working. He goes to pick up the phone and you're just hearing this like static, like this, I don't even know how else to describe it other than just static and almost like a groaning sound in the background. And he's not able to, it's one of these old rotary phones too that's mounted to the wall in the kitchen as we all had them, and he's got nothing. And so he then decides, well, he knows that he has a rifle out in their shed. And so he decides, you know what? I'm going to go for that rifle. Because at first you're like, dude, what are you doing? You're leaving the house? Like, you're going back outside? Okay. Then you see him frantically loading this rifle outside as he's just shaking and looking at the locked shed door and holding this gun. And then you just see it where this thing is right behind him again. And it's like
very similar to the elevator.
Yes.
Where all of a sudden you are expecting him one way and everyone's attention is watching that door or watching that hallway, and then no, it's behind you.
It's right behind him, and he turns around, and this poor sweet boy, he's just shaking. He cannot even lift the gun. Like, at this point, he is just in total shock from what he's seeing, because he's seeing it. We really haven't seen anything up close at this point, so you just see his reaction looking at it. And then the camera we do get then this vision of this kind of what I would say a giant shadowy figure that's just covered in like tar or something, no face. It has kind of a human form, but it is definitely not human. And he is, again, he's unable to point the gun. He can't, not that I feel like that probably wouldn't have done anything anyway.
Nope.
Because then clearly this is not something of this earth or something that we have any familiarity with. And so you just look up and you see the one light bulb in the shed glow really, really bright. And then it goes out, and Will and this thing are just gone.
I think that's a really cool moment where they flip the camera and it goes from being all tight in, and then all of a sudden it's immediately back out to the corner, and it's quiet and there's nothing. There wasn't a scream. There wasn't anything. It just, they vanished into nothing, and there was no sound.
No.
So
then it's just silent.
But that leaves the viewer, especially if you're watching this for the first time, going, what? Like, what happened? Like, you don't know what happened. If it killed him on the spot, you would be able to identify that, but it doesn't. It's just vanished, which is the vanishing of Will Byers.
And all of this happens before the opening credits.
Right.
So
crazy.
I love that. Like, then you right at that moment, then roll credits. Crazy intro. Like, just love a great intro.
Yeah. I mean, but at that point, who's going, nah, not watching this show.
I know.
Like, you're
turn
watching
this off.
This
yeah.
Yes. No,
exactly.
This was a really good space.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I will say here too, so originally this show was actually set to happen in New York. So in Montauk. But due to budgetary constraints, they decided, you know what? Let's do it in Indiana. And I think it boded well for the show. Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, it's hard to say because the show has clearly done well, and it did get set in Indiana. But I think the idea of setting it in Indiana also gives you a feel of this is the middle of nowhere, right? This is Midwest, small town, anywhere. And I feel like that really rings true when we get this first look at Hopper.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, because then after the intro, which it's just this really brief intro, which honestly, I love a great but brief intro to a show. Gets right to it, because then we're with Hopper on the couch, who you quickly learn is the sheriff of this here town.
Sure is.
But
we get this whole look of him, like, getting ready for work and doing these things. And it's like, this guy is not even impressive at all. And then you realize, like, he's putting on a police uniform, and you're like, oh my good Lord, what is this town doing? Yes,
you see him, he's out on his deck, I think drinking his morning beer.
Of course.
Then brushing his teeth in between cigarette puffs, maybe smoking a little weed. It was a little bit unclear. Still having another beer. And you hear on the news in the background, though, that there have been these suspicious power outages throughout the town, and no one really knows why.
I think they do a good job with that, like throughout the series. Like, little background things happening are tied very tightly to what's going on, and if you're not paying enough attention, you miss it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you're right there with Hopper, though, and again, as Eric said, he's right after you see him having his morning cigarettes and beer, then you see him holstering his gun on his belt. So it is you're like, oh, okay, like here we are in this small town with this cop who's clearly going through something, and then we're with him at the station, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, although I think before we get to the station, we're then introduced to Will Byers' home, right?
We do, yes. There is a sequence of things here that is a little different. It's not straight from him to him at the station, but we do see the Byers' home. We see the frantic moment, which I will say, like, this show could not be set in 2025, because if Joyce Byers doesn't even know that Will didn't come home the night before, what's happening?
Right.
That's not a thing.
No.
And I think that even in the 80s, many people at least knew that their children had been home.
It is a very Gen X thing, though.
It is.
I have heard.
But you still, would know a little bit, right?
You would think,
You'd think. But here's the thing. Here's Joyce's out. She has trusted that her eldest son, Jonathan, was not going to be working. But he picked up an extra shift. Because clearly they are not the best off financially and could use some extra cash. Yeah. So Jonathan's trying to do right by the family and make more money for the family, but in doing so, leaves Will to basically be at a friend's house.
Yeah.
And when Will comes home, well, the rest is history.
Well, and clearly they hadn't had an issue with this in the past,
Clearly not.
Small town, everyone knows each other, everyone's looking out for each other. What's going to happen? You know what I mean? Like they say at a later point in the episode, the worst thing that has happened in this town is some lady got attacked by an owl. So
the worst thing that's ever happened here in the 4 years that I've been working here, you want to know what the worst thing is? Is when an owl attacked Eleanor Gillespie's head, caught it because it thought her hair was a nest. That is Hopper at the station talking to Joyce. Because Joyce at this point, we can move right to that, because I feel like that's the next biggest thing.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say one other thing, though, before we get to that, because on your theme of this wouldn't happen today, another thing that I noticed in that scene is that when Joyce was so she called Mike's house, right? So the Wheelers, where she knew that he was playing with his friends. And she's like, hey, is Will slept over there, right? And his mom's like, no, he's not here. They went home after the game. And Winona Ryder, Joyce, is like, she just wants to act not frantic about it. She doesn't want to almost cause alarm. So she just kind of says, oh yeah, actually, you're right. He just left early for school. And I'm thinking that is, I feel like, a very different approach than what people would take now. I feel like now you would have just told right away, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. I just feel like it would have been oh, he's not here. I don't know where he is. Maybe she didn't want to raise alarm bells to her not knowing what's going on with her own son, though.
That is what I think is happening there. Yeah. I believe Joyce is of the mindset where it's oh, you know what? He must have just left early for school to put now Mrs. Wheeler at ease.
Yeah.
And not necessarily because she knows, because clearly Joyce is stressing out and has no idea, but she also doesn't want other people to know that she's lost her son.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I mean, I will say after this, we get a look at the boys at school getting picked on by the bullies. They're part of the AV club. We get a scene here with Nancy in the hallways with her friend, who I think is Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, what is that friend? Is she 45?
I know.
That's not. There's no way is Nancy hanging out with her.
Oh, that is so not true, though. Because small town, you grew up together. Like one girl maybe, takes on a different look than the others. That is, to me, that is completely realistic and could easily go down. But I hear what you're saying. This is the Nancy's friend.
Nancy's friend. She'll be in a few episodes.
Sorry. Barb. No, right. She actually has a standout.
Come on, Barb. Barb is Mrs. Doubtfire. Not cast by Robin Williams, but cast by somebody else.
Poor Barb. Yeah. Listen, the giant glasses, the really short haircut. Poor Barb. The outfit. It's a lot. There's a lot happening there.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot. She is. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And you do get at the school, though, there is a moment there with Nancy and Steve where she's clearly showing that she's the academic and she wants to study, and Steve is clearly not and does not care about studying, but does want to still be dating Nancy. So there's this give and take there. But that's when we then jump to the to Joyce at the police station, where Hopper is giving the line about nothing bad ever happening here, which is like classic small town cop, I think. Yeah. I'm not a small town cop, but I have to believe that that is the response that a lot of small town police officers will give. It's like, listen, nothing bad happens here. I mean, I think today, not so much, but back then, for sure.
Yeah. And you can tell right away, too, that Hopper and Joyce have known each other for a long time, right?
But it adds to that vibe of small town. Like, all these people just grew up here and they just stayed here.
They went to high school together. They've known each other their whole lives. Like, when he gets to work, he is telling his coworker, he's like, you guys know that in the morning it's just coffee and contemplation. He just wants to just sit in his office, probably smoke a few more cigarettes, and really do a whole lot of nothing. Because honestly, I think that that's the general theme of being a cop in Hawkins, is there's really nothing going on. There's nothing to really do. So he's just chilling, and he rounds the corner, and that's when he just sees Joyce, like, already in his office. She's just let herself in. And then she's freaking out, and he's trying to calm her down, but he's also like, okay, I guess I have something to do today.
And then we're back to the lab. Where they are kind of walking through. There's this new group of like clear executive looking people that have showed up. They are passing by what I'm going to consider look like burn marks on the walls. Like, it's just blackened stuff with this weird goo type of, layering to it. And then it gets to this big crack in the wall, which we learn what this is later. But for now, I'm just going to refer to it as this big crack in a wall that appears to be breathing. This whole wall is like alive.
Even those smaller bits of goo, they had some type of heartbeat behind them. Like, they were moving a little bit. And it was like, what is happening?
It was hard to tell if they were, if they were giving those things like that heartbeat, or if that was just kind of that music that they were putting.
I don't know.
Either one. It worked either way.
This thing on the wall, like, it kind of looks like a mass of roots almost, but all black. And then you see this glowing behind it. And now these guys have gone into this space with full-on hazmat suits, automatic rifles. Like, they are, like, not joking around.
No.
Like, they clearly know that there is something extremely ominous in here, whoever is entering. Yeah.
The people that are in the know that this is not okay, that there is something very, very wrong going on, and they're going to try to take care of it.
There's also this, like, kind of these, like, particles, like, floating through the sky. I just noted that. I feel like whenever you're around this thing, you learn, like, you see all these particles in the air, and you just feel like you're not where you once were.
No, and then they did ask a question about where she was. And that's when we then get our first look at 11.
Yes.
Who is watching from afar as a cook to a small diner is taking out the trash.
Yes.
And it then ends up sneaking into the kitchen, trying to find some sort of food, finds like a plate of fries, and then gets caught by the cook. And so he starts to then, figure out, well, something's not right here. So he tries to have a conversation with her in a little bit, but for now, he just kind of is able to contain her to this area, which is crazy when you find out what she can do later.
Yeah, because he's right. I know. I was thinking that too, because he stops her and he's like, "What are you doing, boy?" Because she has this like really short cropped hair, and she's in a hospital gown too. And then he just looks at her and realizes, like, "Wait, you are not even like dressed. Like you're where have you been?"
Something's real crazy.
Yeah. Something's real crazy for sure.
So let me ask you this, because it was when 11 showed up. I wrote this down as I'm going through all my notes of the episode here. Do you think the age of the kids changes how much you enjoyed this story or this show? Like,
yes.
Like when they're younger, is it a more enjoyable show than when they're older? Or are you okay with the whole progression all the way through?
The progression is fine because you got to have that if the show is going to be on.
When you're casting the same kids, you're not recasting. So
no, you're not recasting, and you just want the same story to continue. So naturally, they're going to age, and unless they tried to pack it all, film really quickly and just have it all happen in 1 year. But
like Millie Bobby Brown is like. She appears to be like 10, and she's like 25 now, and they're coming out with a new season.
yeah. But no, I do prefer it when they first start out when they're young, and
I think that helps a lot. I think it helps a lot that they are younger because it becomes very evident quickly that you care about the kids more than the adults in this show, and and her appearance, everything just kind of made me go, does the fact that they're all younger help? I think it does. I think it does help at least get season 1 rolling.
Yeah, and I mean, and just their innocence. The innocence of it all is really what makes it happen. I mean, they're playing their game together in the basement. They are just have this whole, obviously childlike, because they're children, perspective of it. So they're only going to look at it. They're going to allow a certain level of fantasy because they're all just in love with fantasy with their game playing to begin with. And then so having, when they do meet 11, and how that plays out in the next episode will be, that much more impactful, I think. And just, I think this specific group of kids meeting her too is really important. Like, well,
obviously,
if she had run into the kids who were bullying them, that would have played out entirely differently, right?
Well, like that would not nobody cares about that show.
Oh my gosh, no one cares about that show.
No,
and they probably would have. Yeah, who knows what they would have done. So this, but yeah, because then we're back with the boys in their AV club, which I love that. Like just them with their teacher who knows that these kids are really invested in this project and letting them all kind of take the microphone, and they're just having a great time right before Hopper, the sheriff, walks in to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the boys just didn't realize, like, did they make mention that Will wasn't there yet? Because I might have missed.
When they first arrived at the school,
okay,
like all three of them rolled up, and I remember thinking, like, wow, wouldn't you have expected them to be waiting for Will somewhere? But
right.
I have to imagine, like, if it's me, it's the 80s, you don't have cell phones, you don't have any, you have no idea. You're waiting on the corner, he doesn't show, and you go, I still got to get to school. So the three of them take off, and then they realize, oh, his bike's not here. And it's one of those like, wow, that's weird. Well, maybe he's doing whatever. And that's when they run into the bullies and stuff. But they do note that they recognize that he's not there. But I don't think they thought too much about it until Hopper shows up.
Yeah, and then I love the scene where Hopper's trying to, like, ask them questions, and they're just all, like, bickering amongst each other, like, talking over each other, like, can't get... And the Hopper's just sitting there like, you gotta just tell me what's happening. He's trying to redirect them.
One at a time.
Yes.
One at a time.
Yes.
Because they keep, like, I think it's mostly Dustin and Lucas, like, trying to butt in over the other one to get ridiculous, nonsensical facts straight. Like, not real facts, little, descriptions. Mike's trying to do his best. But anyway.
Yeah. And he just tells them, though, do not investigate this on your own. Like, because then they can tell.
The foreshadowing in that statement. It's like, okay, that's the green light. Go get him.
Exactly. So, and then we go to this just kind of heartbreaking scene where the mom is, Joyce is fantasizing about, spending time with her son, Will, back in his really cool looking fort where he spent a lot of time.
Really great fort, by the way.
He has a doorbell, right?
Like, I mean, it is sturdy. That thing's not going anywhere. My only question is, like, how far away from the house is that thing? Like, it looks like it's a long way. But no. But she's there. She's going through the whole memories of a time when she was out there with him. But to me, that whole sequence, and I think this is all tied together. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that then connects to where she's talking with Jonathan in the house. Is that a little bit later? Am I missing a scene in between?
That comes in a little bit later. So yeah, that's when, so just like a couple scenes. So then right after the fort scene is we get the scene where the cook at the restaurant with Eleven is, but then he decides, you know what, I'm going to call social services, right? So but like he decides.
He is able to get the name out of her. He is able to figure out she's got the 11 tattoo.
Yeah.
And he's asking her what her name is, and she's not saying anything. And then he's like, okay, no more food. And then she's like, no, me 11, and just pointing to herself because she's not a great vocal responder at this point.
Right.
She's just pointing to herself saying 11. And so he recognizes, oh, okay, that's your name.
And then you do get the first glimpse of her psychokinetic powers where she stops the fan from moving, and it's like, wait, what just happened?
It's just these little things all throughout. And I'm gonna just take a quick, we've obviously been discussing Friends for a long time, and how in the very first episode I remember saying, like, listen, they're just saying what they do. Like Joey being like, oh, I'm an actor or whatever. And they're just saying it. Stranger Things does such a great job of not saying, hey, she's got powers. You just see it.
Yes.
They just do these things. And you know how these characters act innately because we're seeing them do it instead of just being told this is what these people do, which is really cool.
Showing, not telling is a sign of great writing.
That's what I'm saying.
That is, it's true. Yes, that is a great point. Is that we're constantly getting a lot of that throughout the show.
And this first episode gives you so much information without telling you anything. They just keep the story going through what they're talking about, but none of them identify personally, oh, I do this or I do that, right? Like you just see it.
Yes. And I mean, because right after that, even another example of that is when you see Hopper just walking down the street because he's with his coworkers trying to find clues about where Will is, and you just see him popping pills. So clearly he's going through something. I mean, you don't really know what it is yet.
And they've laid that out from the moment you met Hopper that you know, stuff's happening here. This is not all like working out perfectly for him.
Yeah. And right after that is then when they find Will's bike.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this is not good. And I think that was when Hopper realized, a kid, he says something like, these kids consider these like Cadillacs. Like, if he could have taken it with him, he's not just going to be leaving this in the woods to get later. He would have brought this with him and ridden it home if he could have. Rode it home, and but he didn't. He left it in the woods, and I think that's when he realizes something is very wrong.
Well, I think that's also when he brings it back to the house, you see the bike come out of the back of the truck.
Oh my God!
That to me, again, going back to that moment in his office when Joyce is like, well, what about the one? Because 99% of the times he's with the relative. She's like, well, what about the one? And when you see that bike come out, you get Joyce is immediately, this is the one. Like, this is now the one. Like, there's an issue here. And Hopper, to his credit now, you see him actually start to do some detective work. As he walks in and he starts asking some pointed questions and he follows the path and he sees the dog is barking and he goes to the shed and he goes in the shed. He's seeing the bullets and he is walking the path that was left for him that not anybody else saw. So you do, and even the other cop comes and startles him at some point, but you get the vibe that he is good at this job, despite what we have seen of him so far as a character that may have a lot of flaws. He is good at this.
Yeah. And I wasn't entirely clear on what he was seeing in the shed. Like, he went in the shed and the dog was barking out in the background, but then you see the lights were messing around too. So the lights were still having issues.
I actually rewound it a few times and watched it myself. Because I thought once when he brought the flashlight up the wall, it looked like there may have been a shadowy figure there that was on him. And then when his coworker comes in, flips the lights on, it's all gone. But I watched it again, and unless it is only one frame, I may just be making that up. But he was clearly tracking something through this hole in the back of the shed and trying to bring the flashlight up the wall. And I think there might have been the beginnings of a piece, and then it was gone.
Yes. And because the lights went out, then they came back on when the other guy came in, and it's he saw these boxes and maybe a sleeping bag or a blanket in the corner.
Well, I think he must have been thinking there was an exit here? There was an exit point here that people don't know about. There's this there's something back in this area, and that's when I feel he started bringing the flashlight up. But it all got canceled because there wasn't anybody back there.
Yeah.
And so then it became okay, we need a search party. Let's get as many people as you can get to do this search party. And I think that's now going back when we get this scene with Joyce and Jonathan. Because they are not part of the search party, which I think probably makes sense. As much as they want to be part of the search party, it's probably not the best to have family members be part of the search party. I understand that. I don't know if they are or not, but they're clearly not there. But I do love you get this Joyce and Jonathan moment where she is now like apologizing to him because he has so much responsibility put on him, and she entrusted him with things that she shouldn't have to entrust him with. And the two of them are like picking out a photo for like a missing child's picture. And you can see Jonathan, I think, is literally working on like drawing one because, you know, they weren't using
it was digital.
They weren't using Canva back then.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really heartbreaking scene. I feel like I teared up a little bit. It was just like, her trying to basically tell him like it's not his fault because he was really just taking it on himself.
Because in the first moment, like she tries to pin it on him.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not
well, that was when
she's doing it out of like anger at herself.
And I think that's when she also just figured he's just around the corner. Like she was like getting frustrated with him because he wasn't there. But now that she knows like something really happened, it's like she's not going to be that type of mom to be like still holding this as his responsibility because she knows. I mean, listen, part of what's also been happening in the background of this is Joyce has been trying to get in touch with Lonnie, who is their deadbeat dad. And he is not in the picture. He is just off with apparently some teenage girlfriend. And she's been trying to leave him messages and can't even get in touch with the guy because that was Hopper's original, suggestion is, hey, oftentimes when this happens, the kid's with the other parent, right? Like they've just run off and they're just with the other parent and you just don't know. And so she's like, I really don't think that that's what's happened here. Because it sounds like the dad was extremely cruel to Will as we find out. And he was called him names, which I don't even want to use.
But there are plenty of times too where, unfortunately, it's not even run off with the other parent, but the other parent will be like the kidnapper.
Yes. Right. Good point.
And so those are other options. But we do get a phone call. And we get a phone call that Joyce believes is from Will. And I will say at this point, I don't know that you can make that argument for sure, but it's definitely a lot of static, some breathing, and you just have no idea really what it is. We, as watchers, know that it's got to be connected, but it's very unclear. She believes, though, that it is Will, because what else does she have to believe in right now? She's got to believe that it's Will.
Right. And that's just got to be the most horrifying phone call. Like in the midst of all this, it's got to be related, right? It's like, how is this not related? And no one knows what's going on.
But not one of them is even believing anything in the world of potentially being supernatural at this point.
No.
And that's why we as watchers are like, they're not even close. Like,
no, and one before that scene rolled out, we did also have the scene of the search party in the woods where the sheriff is out there, and you do learn Hopper that someone asks him. He makes mention.
The teacher asks if he'll have the daughter in the future, and he says no. She lives with her mom in the city. And then kind of walks off, and somebody else tells the teacher, actually, his daughter passed away.
Yes.
But he rolled off that lives with her mom in the city line so quickly, with
fast.
no issue, that you get the idea he uses this a lot.
It was, that was, it was just something he had queued up. That was not something he came up with on the spot. It's too painful. And that's where
defense
some
mechanism.
of the drinking, the pills, it's like, okay, so maybe he is covering something up here. Clearly this is, this has now been going on for a couple of years. And also then you see the scene where, so you learn that about Hopper, which I think is a really important just note about his character. And then, you have the scene with the boys where they've been told, don't go looking. But
Right.
you see them on the most gigantic, hilarious walkie-talkies that I've ever seen.
Those walkie-talkies make Zach Morris's cell phone look small.
Oh!
Like, they are gigantic.
Like, they must have weighed 10 pounds each. Like, I don't even know. This thing was huge.
Like, what's the range on those things? It's got to be crazy. Anyway, the boys have this little conversation about, really, it's kind of, I feel like I jotted this down somewhere. So Mike believes that Will decided to cast Fireball instead of Protection during the game, which is a more aggressive move. So maybe after the game, he did something more aggressive and therefore he got himself in trouble. So the boys take to the bikes and out into the wilderness they go, despite Mike having to try to be bound to his home because the mom won't let them all out, which is funny because then we see Steve try to break into the house on the garage roof. And the boys are off and they're going to meet up.
Yeah. They're you see them then, because then they're out in the rain.
Yeah.
It is pouring rain. You just see these boys in the woods with their flashlights. And
before this happens, we have the scene at the little restaurant, actually, where social services
my goodness. Yes,
comes to get 11. And you can tell, like, nah, this ain't right. Something's up here. And so they come in to get 11, and then the woman takes out a pistol, takes out the cook with a silencer, and 11 turns around, and there's like these two guys there, and camera goes back to the social service lady. That's what we're going to call her for now. Connie. And she comes around the corner to where 11 was, and the two guys are laid out, completely gone, and 11 is in the wind.
There was even like blood on their head. I think she might have made them shoot each other.
Who knows?
The other one or something. You don't see it. Whatever happened. They were both down. You don't know,
but you know this, that she shouldn't have got out of that room and did. And you just know, well, if she can turn fans off with her mind, like, what did she make happen here?
Yes.
But then we get to the scene with the boys in the woods finding 11 for the first time.
Yes, because she just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, they put their flashlights up and she's just standing there.
Yeah. And I think it's actually after this. It's between these two things where the boys find 11 and the social services come. It's in that window that we get Joyce and Jonathan and the phone call. Like, I wasn't going to point it out. That's kind of the timeline. Sorry, I was jumping ahead. I guess I really wanted to talk about that scene for some reason, but like that's more the timeline. And the only scene I think at this point that we didn't really touch on was Steve with Nancy. Which honestly
Steve, the player,
is completely unnecessary to this entire episode, but necessary for the longevity of the story. Like, it is important to develop Steve and Nancy as characters, but for this episode, it felt like the storyline that you didn't care about at all.
I think it's important because in order for you to stay interested in a character, you got to throw in at least bits of what's going on with them if they're going to be a main character, right? So Nancy is clearly going to be a main character. So is Steve. And so it's like, you got to keep inserting them, even if it's just sprinkling it in to get a taste of who they are.
The first time I watched this show, I don't know that I thought at this point that Steve had to be a main character.
No.
Nancy, I definitely was like, well, she's part of the family. She's in this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But clearly,
for sure.
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're listening and expecting no spoilers, too bad.
Yeah.
Like Steve's going to be a part. He's a big part, and his character arc is wild.
It really is. I'm like, wow. I actually, to the point, Eric, where I went and I looked him up. I'm like, do I know him from something else? I'm like, no, it really is just this show, but he just takes so much more of a prominent role than you ever would have suspected when the show
at this
started.
point in time, you're like, this guy can go. Like, I don't need to see this guy around. And I think I'm going to feel that way for most of season 1, by the way.
Yes. 100%.
But like, but then there's a chance. Well, I know exactly where it is, but I'll leave that for the future.
So a couple just random things. I know I mentioned at the beginning that, so this was originally supposed to be set in New York. The original title for the show was actually going to be The Montauk Project.
No, stupid. I disagree.
Right. Makes me think too much of the Blair
cooler.
Witch. The Blair Witch Project. That's what it makes me think of. And I'm like, no, we already had a project. We have too many other projects. Like, this is the Stranger Things definitely is way better.
And it fits. Like, these are strange things that are happening. So these are strange. Like, I like that. I like that vibe. Obviously, it's hard to say. If it was the Montauk Project and it crushed, we'd all be talking about, like, why would you call it Stranger Things? Like,
that's
like,
too generic.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I like it. I feel
that.
like for some reason too, the Montauk Project sounds like they would have started with a cast of older kids too. I don't know why. I just think that it just almost feels like, oh, these kids are already in high school.
Yeah.
I just get totally different vibes. I don't know. The other miscellaneous piece of information was that apparently the Demogorgon, who is the monster that now we've seen,
that we don't know is in fact
the
Demogorgon.
Oh no.
Our only reference to the Demogorgon at this point is the character on their D&D board set.
Yes. And there are more parallels as we go on between D&D and these creatures that we'll meet in the future. But the Demogorgon was initially going to be 20% CGI and 80% actual, like, practical costume.
Okay.
And it evolved into being 50-50 split. So it's half CGI, half makeup and costume.
That I think makes if you're trying to make something truly surreal like that, you want to be able to blend it. What the percentage is, I don't know, 50-50 seems right. I'm not a makeup artist by any stretch. I am not.
They do amazing things. So
that's what I'm saying. They do crazy things. But I do think, especially as we will get to points where the world around them at some points is largely CGI, having the character also have more CGI elements is not that far-fetched.
Yeah. And I love, though, that they did have that makeup element, so it wasn't completely CGI either.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then the final just tidbit that I learned is that I'm not sure if his name is pronounced Gaten or Gaten, but it is Gaten, Gaten. I'm thinking.
You're talking about
Matarazzo?
Dustin, right?
Dustin, he plays Dustin Henderson.
I want to say I actually think it's the opposite, but I'm going to look it up. Go ahead.
Gaten? So his role was not originally written with cleidocraniodysplasia, which is where I guess his teeth just grow in later on in life. But he was. What are you finding?
No, that's I'm listening. They have his first name Gaetano, Gaetano, and then in quotes Gaten. So I'm going to say Gaten.
Yeah. Okay. But I guess his character wasn't originally written with that condition, but they just wrote it in because that's his real life condition. So this isn't like him like putting on a lisp and they've like CGI'd out his teeth. No, this is a real condition, which I learned about, from this show. I really, until he brought it up. So in the scene earlier where they're getting bullied, he makes reference to, hey guys, I have that. And I'm just like, oh, Dustin, that's not going to help. Like they're not going to, that's just making it worse.
Doesn't help.
Because these kids are just super mean. Oh, yeah, especially in the 80s back then, there's no like monitoring, nothing's happening. These kids, they were.
Listen, it's rough even with the monitoring. I'm just going to say.
Well, yeah.
It is. It's,
sure.
Listen, kids are mean.
Punks. Yeah. So, and the other things that I just wanted to point out were the 2 songs by Jefferson Airplane that stuck out to me. White Rabbit, which I love so much. That's the song that's playing like right before the social worker shows up at the door. And Eleven's like eating a bunch of ice cream on the counter. It's such a great song. And then Africa by Toto is playing when they're studying in Nancy's room. So those are the kind of
love
2
that.
of them.
Great song.
Yeah.
Great song.
But I just love the soundtrack of the show. I'm not always super into soundtracks, but this is one, even as the show progresses, I continue to like listen to. I'll just pull up Spotify and just listen to the soundtrack.
Well, I think, like I said, even some of the like non-named music, just some of the ambiance music.
Oh yeah,
is
the score
very 80s, and it's got this eeriness to it that is obviously very dependent on scene, but it helps keep you in that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's purely supposed to be a spooky or eerie, scary scene, it still feels 80s. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And playing these songs is just part of it. I remember the first time I watched this, Tina and I were like, oh, it's set in the 80s. And we were watching all the 80s stuff. Like we were picking out things that we noticed like that more than anything else. That helped keep us in it because we lived it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that. So keeping that music, that helps a lot, I think, with the setting.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to go into our favorite character and least favorite character from the episode. And so this is not our favorite character from the entire series, as we've seen already, but who in this one was the one that you liked the most, and for whatever reason, you're welcome to that. And who is your least favorite for whatever reason? I will start.
Yes.
And I have a clear least favorite person. So I'm starting with a least. And my least favorite character in this entire episode is Mr. Wheeler. That guy is ridiculous.
Oh my God, same. That is so funny.
Can't even. Okay, as a dad, to see this guy, I'm like, what are you doing? What is happening in your life that is making this be this way? And maybe I believe he has maybe some redeeming moments down the line, but God, so bad. Doesn't care about the kids, doesn't really even care about Mrs. Wheeler, just wants to watch his TV and get out of the way. Like they're having a dinner conversation. He's not even really listening to it.
No.
Like, and listen, this is TV in general, okay? You find the TV show where the dad is good. It doesn't work. The dad is a bumbling idiot every single time, and the mom is a hero. Like, what world is this? Not gonna say that doesn't work out some of the time, but give some of us dads some credit. That's all I'm saying. Mr. Wheeler, get out of here. You're the worst.
You know what I'm going to say. So this is hilarious because you and I had the same exact pick. I also had Ted Wheeler.
I could have gone with Steve, but I didn't. I went with...
Okay. So my other pick, actually, before I get it more into Ted, my other pick, but I figured I should probably pick someone who is actually on the screen.
Yes, do that.
My other pick was Lonnie, who we did not even mention.
Can't pick Lonnie.
So Lonnie is the deadbeat dad.
Lonnie.
And I just don't like Lonnie. He's clearly an ass. So, but yes, Ted
I'd have
Wheeler...
accepted the Demogorgon more than Lonnie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ted Wheeler, I described him as being giving George McFly vibes.
George McFly is running circles around Ted Wheeler.
Well, yeah, but he is just checked out, just not really paying attention, fiddling with the TV. Like, his job clearly, I mean, he's sitting at the dinner table in his tie. Like, listen, their family has clearly divided up the duties of, like, dad works and comes home and is otherwise disengaged, or unengaged. Disengaged? Okay, now I'm questioning my grammar.
Disengaged.
There. Either way. Disengaged. Thank you. Okay. Disengaged and
Listen,
the mom.
You and I are both English majors. We can just make up words as we go. It's fine.
No, that's the opposite. But so yeah, he's just oblivious, disengaged. Like, he just wants to eat his dinner and not worry about it, and really is not paying attention to any. And the mom is just running the show. Like, she's the project manager of the home. She is on top of everything. But also still doesn't really know that the boys have been playing, D&D for 10 hours. I think that a certain amount of this too is, I hear what you're saying about every TV show really does portray the dad as to either being totally disengaged or
genuinely like a bumbling idiot.
Yeah, a total fool. He can't get anything right. Can't get out of his own way. I would say that's unfortunate. I think that there really, just should be more characterizations of stronger, more together male roles, which maybe has played out a little bit more in other
and I'm thinking,
types of series, but specifically sitcoms.
Yes.
That's really what it's about.
Like, even like if I think back to like Carl Winslow, like,
yes,
he was all right,
yeah.
but he still had bad moments, but he was pretty good. Danny Tanner was all right. He still had bad moments where he looked like a fool, but he was all right. Now there's no mom in that series, so maybe that plays out. And if you go,
and he needed like a team of guys to take care of the kids. Yeah,
but like. But if you go going into the 90s and through into the I just don't see much. I mean, you could say in 90210, I forget his name, but Brandon and Brenda's dad,
Jim Walsh.
Jim Walsh, thank you. Mm-hmm. Jim Walsh was a pretty good dad for the most part, from what I remember.
He was, although he was a bit of just a jerk at times too.
Well,
we'll get into that if we decide to cover 90210.
Listen, that's another day. That's for another day. But for the most part, this is what I'm saying. Like, all the sitcom dads, every other one, stupid.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is because, listen, females forever have been portrayed a very specific, pretty degrading 100%. Way in media. 100%. So I think a lot of this has to do with...
It's a counterbalance.
Exactly. And I think maybe the scales have tipped a little bit far in the direction of, hey, why don't they both just get portrayed in a positive way, or like strike an even like back and forth, like realistic balance between the two, instead of always just blatantly making one either the fool or one being the one who has walked all over. I do actually, feel like Friends does a pretty good job of that. So,
well, none of them are parents.
Well, Ross.
Okay. None of them are parents
and then
to
later
children
on
that we see on the show regularly. At least at the point that we're at currently.
Yes. And even when they are, the kids just kind of disappear.
But I will say, even in that show, and remember, this is still 90s, like, all the girls in that show have to get married off. They all get married by the end.
True.
They do
That's
not
true.
do that to the guys. They leave Joey by himself because they couldn't like partner. They were not going to put Joey and Phoebe together.
That is a fact. Although Rachel technically wasn't married.
Okay. But we know where that's going. Anyway, fair enough.
We digress.
She's committed.
Yeah. We digress.
Okay,
but yeah,
let's
agreed upon Ted Wheeler.
He's the worst. Moving forward, who's your favorite? And or who was like, I'm gonna look at it probably as this is my like hero character of the episode.
So I'm almost feeling like we have the same picks for this episode because my favorite, because I feel like we even talked about him the most, was Hopper. He is my standout character. I feel like we just learn so much about his character quickly. He's troubled but likable. We learn about him having his daughter who has passed away, also seeing that he's, struggling with alcoholism and pills, perhaps. We don't really know what he's taking. Maybe it's a prescription that he's on. I doubt it, though. But yeah, just you get this really troubled storyline for him. He has lots of layers to him because while he's struggling, like you pointed out, he's also still good at, like, it seems like he might have skills in his job and that he cares about his job. And I think he just cares about the community in general. And you also can tell that he and Joyce, have grown up together and that there is just this full connection to the history of the town. So I feel like having that type of role in the show really pulls it all together. So to me, he was my favorite character.
I have somebody different.
Oh,
but
okay,
I don't disagree with you. I think he might be the most flushed out character that we have at this moment. And it's only one episode, but they did a really good job of showing all the layers.
Yes.
I will say that despite me talking about how I thought this storyline was irrelevant to the first episode, but you want to have it, I really like Nancy in this episode because I feel like you get the vibe that no, she has real morals and she's going to stick with them. And she is able to literally counterbalance Steve in a very difficult situation.
Yes.
And that is worth noting. So she was very high up on my list.
I love that. Yeah.
And so I think I was torn between two, but I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with Nancy being my favorite character from this first episode because I feel like she was put in a compromising situation and was able to hold her own ground and show character. Not necessarily her as a character, but she showed her character. Runner up, I actually like the cook that worked with 11 a lot.
Yeah, the cook.
I think he was very underrated. He's only in this one episode.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, he got a lot of. He got a lot out of her. When we especially as we come to learn that 11 is very difficult to get to like know or have a discussion with or get any information out of, to be able to communicate, to be able to try to do what's best for her. I really like the cook in this episode. I think the scenes that he was in were good. I think that would be another one, but I will stick with Nancy. I think it shows some true like backbone for a high school student, a high school girl, to be able to kind of keep Steve at arm's length, which is really cool.
Yes, because Steve is trying to be all pushy with her. And listen, she just wants to study, Steve. Like, she's trying to do well and she's trying to make a future for herself. Like, Steve, back off.
There you go.
Because he just kind of weasels his way into her bedroom. He like knocks at her window, pulls a very like
knocks at actually, her second floor window.
Pulls
he's
a very
up on he's gone the garage.
This was giving me like Clarissa Explains It All vibes with actually was his name also Steve?
Not gonna know. Okay. But I will tell you this much. Way. Mr. Wheeler, you can't hear somebody walking around on your own roof. Come on, man. What are we doing?
Oh my God.
You're the
Mr.
worst.
Wheeler. He's not paying attention. He's already he's asleep.
He's the worst. Okay, so now we're going to do our IMDb rankings, which is what we do at the end of all of our episodes. And unlike Friends, which is what we have been doing for a very long time, we usually do more than one episode and we kind of pick our favorite one and we pick our least favorite one and we go from there. For this, what we're going to do is we know that all the ratings are in on IMDb. We're going to rate it ourselves. Do you want to do fractional points or do you want to just do whole numbers?
I think I have a fraction. I have a fraction ready.
So we'll do tenths of points, a whole number, 10 being the highest, 1 being the worst. We do know, and I will say this, that on IMDb, Stranger Things averages an 8.6. So overall, all episodes averaged together comes into an 8.6. So we are going to factor that in to our mind space and we'll see how close we can get. So, you want to go first?
Yeah. So for me, I am starting this out with a solid 8.5 stars. Lots of suspense, great storytelling. Love that it just jumped right into it from the beginning. Great music. They captured the early 80s really well overall. And just get right into that main conflict.
Yeah.
So great pacing too, I would say. I love how it really didn't stop. Like you went from one scene, you got a bite of like some characters, then jumped right into another. It all flowed really nicely together. Yeah. So honestly, really nothing to complain about. I just feel like I need to get a little bit deeper into the story to increase my rating because I feel like for me, it's probably just gonna go up from here, at least for this first season.
So I'm going to say this. 8.6 is the average. That's all we know.
Yeah.
So if 8.6 is the average, I'm going to give this a 9.1.
Yeah.
Because I will say this, for first episodes of a season on any show, that's a 10. This is great. I love so much. And like we talked about halfway through this episode, love the fact that they didn't just tell us stuff, that you saw it. You saw all the things, all these little moments, even every little second where they're cutting between and you see like Hopper with the pills, or you see the television screen in the background, or everything gave us information without directly saying, hey, here's some information. So I'm going to give it a 9.1. I think it's going to be better than most, or better than the average, but there are some bangers down the line. No doubt about it. Okay, here we go. Okay. First episode. Ready? Mm-hmm. Drum roll. I don't know if you can pick that up on the mic or not.
That was a terrible drum roll.
Yeah. I'm going to get you a drum set for Christmas. Yeah. You can work on that. Okay.
Yeah,
8.5. 8.5.
Oh,
bang
man.
On. Hey, look at you.
What do I win?
A drum set, apparently.
Yeah.
So, 8.5. I am not shocked at that. That was actually one of the numbers I had in my head, but then I convinced myself that 8.6 as average is going to be better than that. But you're probably right. There are just episodes down the line that are so good that it's going to overweigh.
Because the more that you develop a lot of these characters, it just gets just so much better. It'll be a great watch.
But I know there's some, I know season 4 is real split. Like there are some points where it's like, nah, these are okay. And others that are
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I really like this one for a first episode. And maybe I'm just weighting it too high for it being the first episode. So I'll probably, I don't know, maybe we'll bring it down to the 8s going forward. But
hey,
really like it. Really like this episode. I'm glad we're doing Stranger Things now.
Me too. I'm stoked. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and really excited that by the time we get to the end of season 4, I mean, at this rate, like season 5 will already have been out and we'll be super primed to watch that. And we will, although that won't technically be a rerun, we'll be, we'll be enjoying that together.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out as we go.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll have to watch it once.
I'm gonna have to watch it twice just so I can call it reruns.
Yeah, just to stay on theme. Yeah,
that's it.
Nice.
Okay, so thank you very much for listening to the We Run on Reruns podcast. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram or on TikTok. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and really any of your favorite podcast players. Please check out our website at werunonreruns.com and feel free to get involved each week by emailing us at werunonreruns@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. For Amanda, I am Eric, and happy rerunning, everyone.
See you later, guys.